All right, so we're working on lab 2, and this is the first of three options listed on eClass for lab 2. Remember, there are three different possibilities. You can pick one of three different types of projects to do for this lab. So the first one is called Household Acoustics. And just in case you haven't been there, I'm going to uh, just show you the website. You scroll down, open up the Lab Assignments tab, scroll down to Lab Assignment 2, and there are those three options there. Household Acoustics is the first one. Uh, and have a read through that. Now, I'm going to go through that content here in this video and give some pointers. So, uh, this video will be an introduction, but that document is your sort of written uh, clear summary of what the expectations are, what you need to do, and all of that. So the general idea of this assignment, the household acoustics assignment, is to do some acoustic analysis of a sound, and specifically not a speech sound. We'll reach out into something else. This is a fairly simple uh, assignment from the perspective of what kind of sound you're looking at. It's not like analyzing a big spectrogram of speech. So what I'm really going to be looking for in this assignment is that you carefully get all the steps right. You follow the steps clearly. Your report is a very clear and well laid out presentation of the sound that you analyzed. Okay, so really look at clarity and thoroughness in your report for this assignment. So first of all, you make a recording. Now it depends what tools you have on hand, how you're going to do that recording. Of course, everyone has a device. Most people have a device like this that you can make a recording on using some kind of audio recording app. Some people have a fancier microphone, something fancy like that you can use. You don't need to use a really high-end microphone for this assignment. Just a basic, even the basic microphone that's in your computer that you use for participating in Zoom calls, for example, will do. Um, if you don't think that you have access to a basic microphone, do let me know about that, and we'll find an alternative for you. But they're everywhere, so likely you do have one. And you're going to make a recording. Now, we're used to our environment. We're so used to our environments, we don't always hear the background noise. But if I stop, I can hear the humming of my uh, air circulation from my furnace because it's now winter here and furnace has to work. And that actually comes through in recordings. You may hear it in the background of this recording. I don't do a lot of audio cleanup on these recordings. Um, there's a clock on the wall that I barely hear anymore, but if I'm really paying attention to a recording, I'll hear it. Uh, we have a dog in the house who is not barking right now, and it would be very helpful for him to bark as an illustration. But these sorts of background noises that you're used to setting aside when you're trying to focus on, watching an amazing phonetics video or binging your latest whatever show you're binging, or listening to podcasts, or just chatting with people in the house. You're used to ignoring these, but microphones do pick them up. So be aware of that. And when you do your recording, listen to your recording and see how bad the background noise is, because the microphone is going to pick up things that you don't notice. And then when in the recording, you'll notice them more strongly there. Um, your recording doesn't have to be completely free of background noise, but for example, if you're recording, some kind of shuffling sound and there's a conversation happening right next to you, that's not going to be great. The conversation is going to override a quiet shuffling sound. Um, so just pay attention to the environment, make it as quiet as you can of other sounds so that the recording can focus on the sound that you're after. There's some pointers in the write-up about how to set up your recording device so that it doesn't have that, so that other things aren't introduced, reverberation and whatnot. Once you have the recording, You should be able to get the file into your computer and load it in Pratt. And Pratt is the software that you're going to use to perform acoustic analysis. Now, we've covered a lot of things in this class about acoustics. We've looked at several different types of waveforms, right? The sine waves or simple waves, complex periodic waves, which usually show up in the real world as quasi-periodic waves. We've looked at noise, impulse, and we've looked at silence, but please don't use silence as your example here because it's going to be something of a null result. So you're going to want to categorize your sound according to, like which of these are present. Maybe more than one of them, or it may just be one or the other of those types of waves are present. And then think of all the different properties of waves that we looked at in the first unit of acoustics in this course. Okay, that was back in week 6, basic acoustics. We looked at a bunch of different properties of waves. Some of them interrelate, and we can calculate this one from that one, and so on. Um, some of these properties you can measure from your recording once you load it up in Pratt. All the information is there to pin down some of these values. Some of them are going to be completely inaccessible to you. Your report, I want you to measure and report the things that you can measure and discuss the ones that you can't measure. Why couldn't you measure them? What else would you need to measure these things? Now, there are devices out there to measure all of the other properties as well. I don't expect you to go chase down such devices and do those measurements. That's beyond the scope of this. I just want you to discuss, hey, here's something that I couldn't measure, and here's why I would need this kind of device, or this is what I would need to be able to measure that. Okay. Um, let's see. Uh, right. So your report is going to report the type of wave and a nice thorough discussion of all of those different properties of waves. Okay. The report also needs to say, okay, now can we draw parallels between the sound that you've analyzed and speech sounds? Because this is a speech class, a class on human speech, phonetics of human speech. What you submit is a clear, well formatted, well structured report with all of that stuff and the sound file that you analyzed. Because I might want to have a look at it too, to double check your recording, to double check your measurements, and because I'm just interested. Okay. Uh, so that's the general shape of it. Uh, your report. This doesn't have to be a super long report. As with the first lab assignment, with the sort of writing heavy versions, 2 pages is going to be pretty short. 10 pages is going to be pretty long. But anywhere in between there, like 3 to 10 pages is a reasonable length for this assignment. Maybe 3 to 8 pages ideally. But the rubric isn't, the thing I'm going to be marking on isn't length. It's going to be completeness. Have you done everything that's asked in the assignment? And it's all laid out there in the text on eClass. Correctness. So when you measure it, are you measuring it correctly? And be careful about that. Uh, and and have you reasoned correctly? Is it true that these particular things can't be measured? Is it true that what you've measured there is what you say it is? All of that kind of stuff. It's got to be correct. It's got to be complete. Clarity, and this is where length does start to come in. If you're too brief, it can be hard to identify the ideas if you don't take the time to fill out the idea. Uh, on the other hand, if you go on too long, you're going to be wandering all over the place and going on tangents, as some, I mean, not your phonetics instructor, but some instructors do in class, for example, or in their videos. So, uh, so if you find your report, you feel like you're done, but you're only a page and a half, you probably haven't clearly laid out all of the things I'm asking you to lay out. If you've gone on for 15 pages, there's some stuff there that really doesn't belong there, and it's going to be distracting, and that impairs clarity. Um, and then insight is that sort of weird mark that varies from assignment to assignment, from task to task. In this one, the insight, it's about, have you really made the connections that I've asked you to make, identifying which properties you can't measure and why, and what could you do about that if you had, more resources, more equipment, that kind of thing. Uh, and making a reasonable connection to speech sounds. How is this sound like this speech sound or that speech sound, and why? Um, so that's all again laid out on eClass, how this is going to be marked. So yeah, household acoustics. It's about getting to know some everyday sound much more intimately, much more closely in terms of its acoustic properties and whatnot. So if you choose this assignment, I sure hope you enjoy it. I do look forward to seeing how that comes out, and definitely ask questions if you're not sure about something. Ask me by email, ask me on the discussion forum, ask me in one of the drop-in times over Zoom or in my office, and I'd be happy to clarify anything that I can.